Yeah, greetings, family, and welcome again to another one of our PACM or Mojo session. And I'm glad to say this week we have with us Ras McKoy, and Ras McKoy will be looking at the topic of Rastafari and the African struggle. But as usual, before we get into the main presentation, I'm going to pass you over to Ndugu Umani, who's going to change the vibration for us.
Okay. All right, Asante Sana and Asante Sana, and greetings to all the family. So I greet you in the words of Kiswahili, Hamjambo Jamaa, so which means greetings, greetings kindred, and of course greetings to Elder Ras McKoy, who's here. So we are going to start with our usual ritual of invocation called Mabadiliko Ya Nishati, which in Kiswahili means change of energy. But to get us into the right frame of mind to listen, enjoy, and participate with the session today, we're going to center ourselves by using our breath. Our breath is the key to life, and we are going to use it so that we are moving away from where our enemies wish us to be, which is to be emotional and reactive and animalistic, but into our true selves, where we are in full control of our innate powers. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just breathe together. So we're going to breathe together 5 times. The Spirit tells me, which is the spiritual quantity for change, for activity, yeah, for intent and flexibility. Okay. And so we're going to do that. We're going to do some pot belly breathing. So when we breathe out, we pull our stomachs in, and then when we relax our stomachs, the air rushes in through our mouth. So breathe out through our mouth, and then breathe in through our noses. So pull your stomach in to empty your lungs. Breathe out through your mouth. Relax the stomach, and the air rushes in through your nose. Okay, so we'll just begin. So if you wish to take part, please do. If you don't wish to, that's absolutely fine. African spirituality is not about coercion. Okay, it's about sharing our culture and our way, and having respect for those traditions, giving respect to all other traditions that we have in Africa and the diaspora. But this is the one that we are using in our following all those other traditions as well. So we're going to breathe out and relax, and we breathe into the nose. We're sitting straight so that our 7 energy centers are in line with our spine, and our hands are on our palms of our hands are on our thighs, and our feet are flat on the floor. We breathe out again and relax, and we breathe in. And Billy, and breathe out. And relax and breathe in. Tatu, or 3 in Kiswahili. And we breathe out. And now relax and breathe in. And now finally breathe out again. Pull the stomachs in. And now relax. Stomach. Breathe in through the nose. Tana. Wonderful. So hopefully you're feeling more centered and calm. And we can begin with the rest of the ritual. Again, my name is Ndugu Umani, a member of the Pan-African Congress Movement and an African spiritual life coach. So, Ndugu, I'm going to share the screen. Okay, let me know when you can see that. Yeah, it's all up. Okay, wonderful. All right, so as you can see, Mabadiliko Ya Nishati, this is the ritual. We're continuing with that. And now in Kiswahili, I'm going to open the ritual. And everything you see will be in Kiswahili or Vodun terms or in Kemetic terms, but there's always a translation. You can see in purple, the vibrational color for intuition. You can always see that. You always see the translations on screen, so you'll be able to follow. Okay, so kubadilisha nguvu sasa tuna washukuru wote mamlaka na mababu kuuliza kwamba tuna uhusiano wa karibu nao na kwamba watatusaidia katika kuonyesha malengo yetu. To change the energy, we now thank the all, the powers and the ancestors, to ask that we have a closer connection with them and that they assist us in manifesting our objectives. And in order to do that, we're going to ring this triangle chime, the geometric shape, powerful geometric shape of triangle, 3 sides, symbolizing creativity and birth. And I'm going to ring that again. Yes, my spirit tells me to do it 5 times. So as we do, we're going to allow the vibration to go around us, through us, and over us, thereby opening us up to universal consciousness through our 3rd eye, through our pituitary gland. And by giving of ourselves of that energy and open ourselves to that energy, we're giving that offering. We're giving that the sacrifice of our energy to the all. And as we open ourselves up to universal consciousness, we can join each other wherever we are in the world, as we are one spirit, one vibration, emanating from the one vibration, which is the all. So I'm going to think. So you're participating, please close your eyes, breathe deeply, and resonate with the vibration. I'll begin. I'll count in Kiswahili. Keep time. Moja. Mbili. Tatu. Nne. Tano. Okay, continuing. Now, as a call and response, I begin, and then we'll say together, Sisi ni kitu kimoja, which means we are one of the same thing, a powerful affirmation that we're saying, that we should always meditate upon what we are actually saying. When we say that these powers are not from outside of us, arbitrarily controlling us, this is us. This is, we're invocating the powerful one that's coming into our own power, stepping into our own power, and we are one of the same thing. So I'll begin. Ninaomba ya maumba awote. Sisi ni
kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba ya nebacha.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya mamiwata.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya shu.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya tefnut.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya nut. Sisi
ni kitu kimoja.
And going on to the PACMTV, the Kemetic science, to improve the human being so that you become one with all things, and thereby becoming one and bringing into balance all existence. These things not only are in the netters and netaru, the powers, the forces of nature that are outside of us, these are also within us and a part of our psyche. Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya geb.
Sisi ni kitu kimoja.
Ninaomba kanuni na nguvu ya auset. Sisini
Sisini
Kitu
Kitu Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Sebek. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Heteru.
Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Haru.
Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Herakuti.
Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Maat. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Saker. Sisini
Kitu Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Tehuti. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Alsar. Sisini
Kitu Kumoja.
Ninamba Kanunina Nguvu Ya Amen. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja.
And now we've given respect and honor to the first ancestor, which is the all we all emanate from. But first, after that, we can give thanks to those ancestors in our direct bloodline. We must always remember, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So I'll begin. I'll call upon my mother, Nina Omba, Mama Yangu, Audrey Mae Kelly. Sisini
Kitu Kumoja. Nina Omba Mababu Iselin Ratigan. Sisini Kitu Kumoja.
Nina Omba, Baba Yangu, na Bibi Yangu, Edgerton Reed, na Ketra Reed. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja. Nina Omba Mababu Sylvester Rattigan, na Louise Hines, na Ruth James, na John Rattigan.
Sisini Kitu Kumoja. And is there anybody else in your direct bloodline you wish to call?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so we can go on and we can call upon those ancestors now who are not in our direct bloodline, but who gave their time, their effort, their resources, and their very life for us and for our people to move closer to African liberation. Ninaomba Wazee, the Honorable Marcus Mazar Garvey, na Amy Jacques Garvey, na Amy Ashwood Garvey, na Marcus Garvey Jr. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja. Ninaomba Mababu ya Brother Doggy, na Brother Tagel, na Sister John, na Brother Berenge, na Brother Tenny, na Leon Blades.
Sisini
Kitu Kumoja.
Ninaomba Wazee Dr. John Henry Clark, na Del Jones, na Winnie Mandela, na Sam Greenlee, na Chancellor Williams. Sisini Kitu
Kumoja. Ninaomba Mababu Sheikh Anta Diop, na Sheikh Amadou Bamba, na Helen Suturi Jata, na Steve Biko, and na Patrice Lumumba.
Sisini
Kitu Kumoja.
And now we can go on to those ancestors who we don't always know their names, but they gave us a tremendous legacy. First of all, those of the Mangamazi. Ninaomba Mababu ya Mangamazi. Sisini Kitu
Sisini
Kamoja.
Kitu Komoja.
Those who fought in the Gula Wars in the Americas. Ninaomba mababu ya Gula Vita. Sisini Kitu
Sisini
Kamoja.
Kitu Komoja.
One of the great ancient African states, that was the first Pan-African state, the Mosai. Ninaomba mababu ya Taifa la Mosai. Sisini
Kitu Komoja.
Our people around the world, Ninaomba mababu watu ya Kori, as they call themselves in Australia, na West Papua, na Papua New Guinea, na Tasmania, na Dravidians. Sisini
Kitu Komoja.
Ninaomba mababu wanachama ya APLA, na SWAPO, na Freedom and Land Party, na Black Panthers. Sisini Kitu
Komoja.
Ninaomba mataifa ya Kemet, na Tarseti, na Kush, na Nubia. Sisini Kitu
Komoja.
And I finally call upon those ancestors of the first created the first civilized nations, the first civilized people, where all our traditions emanate from. Ninaomba mababu watu ya San, na Twa, na Hutu. Sisini
Kitu Komoja.
Ninawaomba wanaishi ambao watatetea sisi, na wale mababu ambao bado hawajazaliwa. Sisini Kitu Komoja. And finally, we end on the words of power and manifestation on screen, which we say with intent and will. The only thing that holds us back is our own will. Whatever we dwell upon is so we can create. So we say, just repeat after me. Nguvu zote.
Nguvu zote.
Kwa watu wetu.
Kwa watu wetu.
Mapenzi ya wote.
Mapenzi ya wote.
Ni mapenzi yetu.
Ni mapenzi yetu.
Hakuna mwanzo.
Hakuna mwanzo.
Na hakuna mwisho.
Na hakuna mwisho.
Finally, in the Kemetian, Anuk Amen.
Anuk Amen.
All power to our people. The will of the all is our will. There is no beginning and there is no end. I am. Amen. Asante sana, Jama. Thanks very much, family.
Yeah, asante sana and good morning for that.
And you're welcome.
Now, Ras McKoy will be doing the presentation today. So I'd like to hand you over to him and he'll say a little bit about himself, just give a bit about his background, and then he'll launch into his presentation. So Ras McKoy?
Yes, give thanks. Yeah, but before I go into it, I just want to say, Hail Most High Rastafari Emperor Haile Selassie the First. You know, and I also would like to salute our brethren Neville O'Reilly Livingston, who passed away a couple of days ago, professionally known as Bonnie Wheeler. I'd like to pay a tribute to him and condolences to his family and close friend. And to all those soldiers who has fall by the wayside. You know, yeah, all those soldiers who fall down in the work, you know, the great struggle of black liberation and for humanity as a whole. Yes, so, yes, let's get into it now. I am Ras McKoy. I'm a radio presenter, singer, songwriter, a natural mystic. I host the Ras McKoy Good Vibe Show on Galaxy Affiliate.com radio every Tuesday between 6 and 8 p.m. UK time. Yeah. So, I also have a YouTube channel, and I would love you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ras McKoy, spell RASMCKOY. You can look it up on the YouTube, even on this YouTube channel that we're coming out. You can see my name spell, even on the video that you're watching, you can see my name is spelled. Once you put that in the search engine, it will come up. The same thing with Facebook. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and contact me there through Facebook if you want. Yes, so today we are going to talk about Rastafari and the Pan-African struggle. Yes, because Rasta play a significant part in the Pan-African struggle. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of history and the background of the Rastafari movement and how it come into being and so on. It's different aim and objective because it's not one homogeneous unit. And so I'll begin now. If Rastafari movement rose up in the 1930s, shortly after the coronation of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. It evolved out of an African consciousness and its eternal desire to be free from slave masters, colonial domination, and all forms of oppression, physically, mentally, and spiritually. It is said that Marcus Mosiah Garvey, leader of the Universal Legal Improvement Association and African Community League, also called UNIALCL, which at the time was the largest black association, in a prophetic statement advised black people to look to Africa, where a king shall be crowned. So Rasta began doing that. But there's some dispute about whether or not Marcus Garvey did say that. Some people say it's not him, say it is an ex-brethren that said at one meeting. And there's also a dispute about the date that him said. Jaboons in a film literature said that took place in 1929 in Kingston, and at a convention in Kingston, whereas Barrett, an ex-writer, states it took place in Jamaica just before Garvey went off to the United States. Regardless of what, Rasta did see this as a significant prophecy. And when the coronation of His Imperial Majesty took place in 1930, many Rasta took to them Bible and also saw that this was a move now to serve the king. But even though Rasta is a physical movement that started in the 1930s, you will hear many Rastafari saying that they are from that time until this time and even for all time. So Rasta have the spiritual dimension to it, where them see themselves as eternal and from eternity to eternity. So that is how it goes. Now we have three main personalities within the Rastafari movement. First and foremost, Haile Selassie, Marcus Garvey, who strictly speaking is not a Rasta, but was a forerunner to Rasta. And Leonard Percival Howell, who is also one of the founding fathers. There are also 4 founding fathers within the Rastafari movement. And like I said, Leonard Howell is one of them. The brethren Joseph Ebert, Archibald Dunkley, and Robert Hines. Now, we're going to talk about Marcus Garvey briefly, as him is the forerunner, as I said earlier. Marcus Garvey, Mosiah Sr., is of the Order of National Hero in Jamaica. Of course, you have to embed them honor them National Hero in Jamaica. He was born in 1887 in the parish of St. Anne, Jamaica. He was a political activist and leader, an organizer, publisher, journalist, entrepreneur, and orator. And like I said earlier, he founded the UNIACL and became its first president general. It is also said that he declared himself as the provisional president of Africa. Like I said, UNIACL was the largest Black African association ever outside of government. Yeah. Now, Marcus Garvey's ideology is that of a Black African nationalist and Pan-Africanist, so he might deal with African from all over the world, like myself. And his teachings and practice became known as Garveyism. Now, like Garvey was born, like I said, in St. Anne's Bay, and to a moderately well-to-do family, and he became an apprentice in the print trade as a teenager. And he moved to Kingston later and began working there and became involved in trade unionism. He then lived briefly in Costa Rica, it is said, Panama, and England. And he returned to Jamaica, where he founded the UNIACL in 1914. He then moved to the United States, to New York City, and set up an office there in the Harlem area. And he was emphasizing unity between Africans and the African diaspora. He also campaigned for an end to European colonial rule across Africa and within the whole world, within the whole diaspora, and for the political unification of the continent, and for all Africans for that matter. He preached and practiced economic self-sufficiency, and as we know, in many businesses, including one which he set up with the Black Star Liner. He wanted to see Africa governed by himself, then it is stated, and have a one-party state, which law ensure Black racial purity and so on. And he was very committed to the Back to Africa movement. Now, like I said, strictly speaking, he is not a Rastafari. So the amount of talk that there's more people much better than me, Garveyites much better than me, who can talk about that subject. And we'll see that happen on this channel. Now, so it is said that he died on the 10th of June 1940 here in England. So we're going to move now. But like I said, Marcus Garvey is the forerunner, and most of the founding fathers, the four founding fathers, and their followers were most likely Garveyites. You know, so we can look and say Garvey have a real influence on how the Rastafari movement came into being, you know, and an influence upon those who were the forefathers of it. And he's also seen as a prophet within the Rastafari movement. And in many cases, him hold a number 2 position in a Rasta, in a many Rasta groups, which we'll discuss later. Now, the second person in the personalities is Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie was born on the 23rd of July 1892 at a place called Ijasa Garso, not far from the city of Harar. His mother was Wezario Yashima Bet, and his father is Ines Ras McKoy, and he was named Tafari McKoy. His surname was after his father, McKoy. He was baptized according to custom and given the name Haile Selassie, which means power of the Trinity. Now, we just can list out some of his achievements while we keep referring to some of his documents. And the 1st of November 1905, at the age of 13 years and 3 months, his father appointed him detachment in the large region called Gara Mul later. Now, the rank of the Jazmat is that which would later on become equivalent to that of a lieutenant general in the army. So at this tender age of 13 years, he was given great responsibility of a large area within the province. Now, it seemed like his father knew that he was going to die, and therefore was giving Tafari this experience of leadership. You know, obviously he had counsel from the elders and so on, and was told to take counsel from the elders. His father died a few months later, you know, in March 1906. In 1910, on the 3rd of March, he became governor of Harar, that same province. 6 years later, on the 27th of September 1916, he became regent plenipotentiary of Ethiopia, which, because he was a prince and given them title, but if it was here in England, they would have called, or nowadays, they would have called him prime minister. But truly, he was a prince, them give him them title because he got that title when they decided to make him regent plenipotentiary, or prince regent for short. So you even refer to just regent of Ethiopia in the future. Now, Tafari, during his reign as regent, negotiated the entry to the League of Nations for Ethiopia on the 1st of August 1923. He was promoted to the rank of Negus, which means king, on the 7th of October 1928. And on the 2nd of November 1930, the coronation of Negus Tafari McKoy, with heritage from King Solomon and Queen of Sheba of the Bible, took place at St. George's Cathedral in Addis Ababa. It was done with pomp and ceremony and with great grandeur in the presence of the representatives from many nations, as well as journalists and all type of reporters from all over the world. He was crowned Negus Negas, meaning King of Kings, and used his baptismal name of Haile Selassie. He was thereby crowned. His full title was Emperor Haile Selassie I, King of Kings and Lords of Lords of Ethiopia, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God. He was also made the titular head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. His wife was crowned later that day and was called Empress Menem. In 1931, Haile Selassie formed the first constitution in a 3,000-year history, dating back from the time of King Solomon. It established a parliament and a court system, but formal powers remain with the emperor. So Haile Selassie was a modernizer, but him also believed in doing things little by little by little. And while him set out to modernize Ethiopia, by 1935, the Italians and a dictator called Benito Mussolini decided he wanted Ethiopia because he never get enough land at the Berlin Conference, and therefore wanted to take Ethiopia. He made several attempts in the past and was defeated, especially at the Battle of Adwa, which was in the latter part of the 19th century. Now, the Italian was a very modern army, had a very modern army, air force, and navy and so on, and also, sorry about that song. And therefore, they were very powerful. And Ethiopia, which was just trying to develop at the time, couldn't face the onslaught of these terrible warplanes, which was spewing out mustard gas and all this thing upon the people, and tanks, which most of the Ethiopian warriors was only using spears and ordinary rifles, so they couldn't really match this military. So Haile Selassie knew that's why he was modernizing the country, that he had to equip it militarily and economically in order to survive in the modern world. He had to, on the council, they told him that he should go to the League. His councilors told him that he should leave Ethiopia and go to the League of Nations and present Ethiopia's case and so he left for Europe. And in 1936, on the 12th of May, he made an historic and prophetic speech at the League of Nations. And he told the assembly there that, in a part of the speech, that Ethiopia today and tomorrow for Europe. You understand? So he was telling them that what happened in Ethiopia is bound to come upon them. And so it did. But while after he left Ethiopia, he spent 5 years in England at a place called Fairfield House in Newbridge, Bath, here in England. It is now a great touristic building. Following his return to Ethiopia, which we'll talk about later, he donated it to the city of Bath. Yes, so while he was at Bath in 1936, he sent his special emissary, Maliku Behen, to established the Ethiopian World Federation. And indeed, they set out for New York and registered such the organization on the 25th of August 1937. So about almost a year later, probably not a full year later, he registered the company, incorporated it. And that play a significant part in Rastafari. He was asked to form such an organization by preachers in America and, you know, all different type of black people who were supporting Ethiopia in the struggle against the Italians. And so they had money, but the money was being misappropriated and mismanaged and so on. And so they came over to Bart and asked him to set up the organization. And that's why he sent the emissary to New York to do that. Yeah, so he continued when he returned to Ethiopia in 1941. Yeah, he returned to Ethiopia in 1941. And, you know, when he returned to Ethiopia in 1941, he was very, how would I put it? He was very generous to the Italians. He showed great compassion and magnanimity towards the people of the Italians who were left behind. Yes, I'm sure great compassion there, you know, the Italians got defeated because Haile Selassie was very clever in that he let the British and the Ethiopian patriarch to what you call it, to fight against the Italian and thereby how would I say, thereby restoring him to the throne of Ethiopia. And so we can see, you know, how clever His Majesty was using the same European them who defeat him to defeat the European. And in 1941, when he returned to Ethiopia, Europe was at war because Germany invaded Austria and then Poland, and it kicked off the war in Europe, which they called the Second World War. When he returned to Ethiopia, he started the rebuilding of his war-torn country, and he started land reform. You know, land reform was one of them, and the next important one was the emancipation of slaves, because even during that time, slavery was still going on in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia was a feudal system, you know, right up until late, and it's still a tribal system even till now. That is why a whole heap of war is taking place over there. And slavery was taking place there still, and he had enough power and strength in 1942 to emancipate the slaves. And, you know, he even set out the death penalty for slavers, you know, and for kidnappers and them kind of people. Yeah. So, yeah, so in 1955, later on, now 1955, he revised the Constitution again, and This time, him allow universal suffrage. So him allow the people to vote. Like I said, he was a modernizer, and he was a man. Yeah, he was a man with very patient. It was a step-by-step process which he wanted to. Yeah, he wasn't a man that rushing him. Yeah, because he knows that he had a lot of enemy, and he didn't have much friend because Africa was still under, the whole Africa was still under colonization. Even countries like Liberia and, well, it was really Liberia and Egypt, which Liberia was still a type of colony. And Egypt is really still with the Turks, Arabs in the north there. So he knew he had to be careful, and he had to try to slow and thing. Yeah. So yeah, so in 1963 now, after he gave the land, yeah, he gave a land grant also in 1955. Yeah, 200 hectares or 500 acres of land to the EWF to administer, that people, black people or African people in the West who wanted to could return to Ethiopia and develop that piece of land. Because Ethiopia needed assistance also at that time, and he was looking for competent Africans to return home and help Ethiopia develop. And as we know, without Africa developing, black people can't be truly free. So, also in 1963, he hosted a conference which formed the Organization of African Unity. Yes, so the Organization of African Unity was, formed on the 25th of May, 1963. So the conference took place between the 22nd and the 25th of May, 1963. And delegates from 32 countries convened in the capital, Addis Ababa, to establish the Organization of African Unity. It was said, so Haile Selassie as a father figure of Pan-Africanism, there was two groups, the Monrovia group and the Casablanca group. And one group wanted Africa to be one state, and the next one wanted to be, yes, working together, but as separate different countries. And so the larger group, which was the one who wanted to work as individual and come together as a group, they won out on the argument. So the United States of Africa, so to speak, that side lose out. So, but nevertheless, the AOU was found on the 25th of May 1963, and that is a powerful move by Africans. Yes, because it gave, how would I put it, a platform for unity for all African nations to build upon. And although we don't like the pace of which it's going at today, it is still there, even though they change the name from the OAU to the African Union. We still don't see it going at the pace, because that is how much now? 57 years that now, I think. Yeah, 57 years. 37 and 58 years now. So it's Africa as a continent and the African politically is growing, but we must remember that South Africa never get free until physically until about 94. Yeah, so you can take all them things there into calculation as well, plus the constant oppression. Haile Selassie became chairman of the organization from that day, the 25th of May to the 17th of July, 1964. He also became chair again on the 5th of November, 1966 to the 11th of September, 1967. Now, in 1966, Haile Selassie visited Jamaica for 3 days. And this was another defining moment in the history of Rasta movement. Now, His Majesty landed at an airport called Palisades International Airport in Kingston. But there was thousands and thousands and thousands of Rastas and other people gathered to greet His Majesty. Everywhere His Majesty go, he bring a crowd. And people love to see him when he visit country. And so the Jamaican government was taken by surprise at the amount of support that and the amount of Rasta that was in Jamaica at the time. So when the plane land and the door open, the people break out in a frenzy and start run towards the plane. Not even His Majesty couldn't even come off of the plane. They have to send for a Rasta man called Plano to come escort His Majesty off of the plane, which we'll talk about that a little bit more. So one reporter described the event as the largest gathering for a head of state in Jamaica. He also stated that Haile Selassie touched the heartstring of Jamaica as no other stranger has done. But very significantly for the Rastafari movement, it also proved that Rasta King and God was real. So those who did see Rasta as king, people who say this man real. Those who say my God, say the man real. And this brought even more following to the Rastafari movement when people saw the majesty of His Imperial Majesty and how graceful he was and how generous he was, because he also donated a school in Kingston where he break the ground at a place at 2 Mile in Kingston. Yeah, so in 1974, he was deposed as emperor, and one Mengistu Haile Mariam and the Derg seized power. It was claimed that he died on the 27th of August 1975 at the palace. But most Rasta born dead, and Bob Marley sang the song Jalive, and although some Rastas did weak out, as you would have said, many more followers started to come, including myself. which never actually accepted that. So I can read out a little thing what from Nelson Mandela when him and Oliver Tambo visited Addis Ababa in 1962. Mandela in his books states Ethiopia has always held a special place in my own imagination, and the prospect of visiting Ethiopia attracted me more strongly than a trip to France, England, and America combined. I felt I would be visiting my own genesis, unearthing the root of what made me an African. Meeting the emperor himself would be like shaking hands with history. Here at the tiny city of Debre, Ziet, for the first time in my life, I was witnessing black soldiers commanded by black generals, applauded by black leaders who were all guests of a black head of state. When the troops had marched directly in front of the grandstand, an order rang out in Amharic, and the 500 soldiers halted as one man, spun around and executed a precise salute to an elderly man in a dazzling uniform, His Highness the Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie, the Lion and Judah. So Nelson Mandela said that about Ethiopia and about His Majesty, because Ethiopia had started to host the liberation movement at that time. And so when Nelson Mandela go and see him living in an apartheid country, saw a black man a rule. Yes, a black man a rule. Yeah. In a black country. Yeah man. In that he really was astounded by it, find it unusual because he was suffering under apartheid down there in South Africa. So, as we can see, Haile Selassie was a real father figure to the Pan-Africanist struggle. Now, we come to the four founding fathers. Rasta described four people as the founding fathers. And the first one we're going to talk about is Archibald Dunkley. And he was one of the first street preachers of the Rastafari movement following the coronation of Haile Selassie. Them said Dunkley spent much time away from Jamaica as a seaman employed by the United Fruit Company, and he returned to Port Antonio in Jamaica in the 1930s, where he switched from him work with the fruit company and become a street preacher preaching about Rasta. It said that him studied the Bible and was convinced that the newly crowned Haile Selassie was the returned Messiah and that Rastafari was the name of God. And them say he relocated to Kingston and formed the Ethiopian mission, where the Kings of Kings Ethiopian mission was founded. He got imprisoned for this sedition because the authorities in Jamaica, the Babylon system, never liked to see Rasta. We're going to explain that a bit more, what Rasta really is a bit more after we don't talk about the founding father. But they never really like to see a Rasta who was talking about self-determination and self-sufficiency and all this type of thing, and praising a black king instead of King George. They never like to see that. And so they lock him up for sedition. So, the authorities came down, them charge him disorderly conduct and them kind of thing there. And them also arrest him, I think, again in a couple of the time after that. And in 1938, he became one of the founding members of the local chapter of the Ethiopia World Federation, Local 17. And although them say not much is known of him, in fact, the three members, not much is known of them actually. Just some brief little thing is written about them and said about them. Even when we talk to the elders, them don't know no more than what you would say the literature on Rasta. So the next person we're going to talk about is Joseph Nathaniel Ebert, who them say born in 1894. And him say in 1911, at the age of 18, he moved to Costa Rica, where he spent 20 years on farm work there. Him say his background at the time had been Ethiopian Baptist Church, founded in Jamaica in the 18th century by a Baptist preacher, George Lyles, I think it pronounced. Yeah, so whilst in Costa Rica, he joined the ancient order of Ethiopia, a Masonic lodge. Ebert returned to Jamaica in 1931 and started his ministry, Ethiopia Coptic Faith, to teach that the newly crowned Haile Selassie was divine. In a place called Benoa in the parish of St. Andrew. He later moved to Kingston. Them say him draw this conclusion independently of him own, is never heard from Owl or any other virgin. He draw this conclusion and he attended street meeting down in Kingston and buck up Owl and asked, find out that Owl was preaching a similar doctrine to what him a preach. And one day, him visit Owl, yes, him visit Owl lecture at a street meeting in Western Kingston. And him asked Owl if he could speak. And Owl tell him, say, yeah, he can go on, can speak. Owl, them say Owl must have been impressed by him because Owl took him on as an assistant. But them say shortly after that, Ebert and Owl followed the cause and joined forces with Archibald Dunkley with the same Ethiopian Coptic church. So the two of them found that church, him and Archibald Dunkley. Well, the difference between Ebert and Owl, which we'll be talking about next, is that Owl was a man who never wanted nothing to do with Babylon system. And Ebert and Dunkley wanted to work along official lines, register the organization and everything, and make everything official. Owl never in none of that. Owl never in none of that. He also said that when Haile Selassie visited Jamaica, he may have been one of those who met the emperor. I'm not sure. That's what I'm saying, but no concrete thing not upon that still. Still a work and I try to check out that. Yeah, so them say him die in 1986 on September 18. And yeah, one of the founding fathers who do some stalwart work with him. The early days, you know, end up in a prison and all them kind of thing. Well, the next one now is Robert Hines, and even less is known by about Robert Hines. You can find him age. But what is known about him is that Robert Hines worked with Howell as the Howell deputy, and previously he worked with Archibald Dunkley and Joseph Hippert as assistant. So I kind of like Robert Hines, because Robert Hines never business about leadership. In business about getting on with the work of the Rastafari movement. And so we kind of have a soft spot for Robert Hines. Really. Now we come on to the stalwart Leonard Percival Howell. Himself was born on the 16th of June 1898 in a place called Crawl River, Clarendon, Jamaica. Himself was known as the Gang, or Gigi Maraj. Gang. Gigi stands for Gang Guru. Yeah. And he is said to be known as the first Rasta by his followers. And he among most of the Rastafari movement. Them say him followers love that all prefer him followers to call him Gang Gunguru Maraj to distinguish his ritual and mystical personality from his secular identity. So, and that the writer them is about him. So them said this, them word that come from Indo, Gan for wisdom, Guna, although them say Guna is Guna for virtue, and Guru meaning teacher, and Maharaj meaning great king. So in the like that title there and the name there. So him use it amongst him followers then. Him say also use it as a pseudonym when he write in book The Promise Key. Well, The Promise Key is a well-known book within the Rastafari movement, and although it's very small, it's a very potent literature. It said, oh, left Jamaica as a youth, traveling to many places, including Panama and to New York. And then he returned in 1932. On his return, he began teaching about the divinity of King Rastafari, as him call him, with great zeal, mostly in the streets, mostly at street meeting in Kingston, dilapidated slums. Yeah, so that's what the writer themselves. Then later on, he moved over to St. Thomas in the neighboring parish. So, and began in street meeting there. Him start prayers and teach about how the emperor is a symbolic sign for Africans in the diaspora and something that them should attach themselves to, because if the coronation, like I said, was done with great splendor and great majesty, and white people was bowing to this African king, and that type of symbolism supposed to be good food for any African who wanted to be free. You know, I said not only that this man was king, but that white people was born to him and under colonial oppression. Them never see that. You understand? So he also asserted that Haile Selassie was the return, was the Messiah returned to earth. And Old was a prolific speaker, so when he talk, he get the message over and know if he convince people. And talk very powerful and don't think that. It said in first public speaking about the divinity of Haile Selassie was in 1933, where he proclaimed the emperor as king and God, and it took place at Redemption Ground in Kingston, which was right beside the main market in Jamaica. And them say never get much convert. But he moved and relocated in the parish of St. Thomas, and them say he addressed a crowd of about 200 at a meeting in Trinityville, St. Thomas. And them said during the meeting, police were present to monitor and control the event, which they deemed to be a seditious nature, but despite concerns, the authorities, the police, them say, all right, them now go press no charges against Owen, but them are going to monitor him. You understand? But I see him place at Trinityville when we go to Jamaica in 1976. The police then, me end up in that police station there, in the jail, because of my natty, you understand? Them take me and lock me up from the Friday evening to the Sunday afternoon for my locks up. Even from them time that them oppress Rasta, you know, till even all them time that me experience that in that same place that we are in getting first big crowd in a St. Thomas. So it's it imprinted pictures of Haile Selassie and began selling them to enable his audience to see who he was talking about. So it is claimed that him sold 5,000 of the photograph, mostly in the parish of St. Thomas, for 1 shilling each. This helped provide him with funds to sustain himself and to continue his work. Now, the parish of St. Thomas is the parish of Paul Bogle and is known as a very rebellious parish. If you go to St. Thomas now, you hear the local them I say the Queen broke her pen in a St. Thomas because it's the least developed parish. In fact, after so much years of independence, so-called independence, or should I say independence, them just start to build a proper road, what them call a highway. Them just started after the road built all around the rest of the island. Them just started because the people of St. Thomas is known to be they have their own way. They don't want nobody tell them what to do. Just like Bob Marley said, they refuse to be what Babylon want them to be. You understand? So, I will, get enough support there, so. But the colonial authorities start to watch him because as him go around and start address various crowd at different places, seafood, man, be a port man, all over the parish, him go, and I get good crowd. And one time now, at a place called Seafood, them lock him up. But before that, him became very popular even to the newspapers and them kind of thing. And the Jamaican authority, the whole establishment in a Jamaica authority, including the colonial authority the planters, the trade union, the established churches like the Catholic Church, Anglican and them on there. Not so much the Pocomania and them. And the police and the military. Them never like Owen because of his teachings that Haile Selassie was king and God. And so they end up now charging for sedition. So it said that the Gleaner on the 5th of January reported in 1934 that Owen was arrested on December 16, 1933 in the village of Trinityville, same place me I tell about, St. Thomas, for using seditious and blasphemous language to boost the sales of pictures of King Rastafari of Abyssinia, who was descendant of King Solomon by Queen of Sheba. So Abyssinia, as some of you may know, is the way you call it, the farmer name of Ethiopia, especially, up until after Haile Selassie returned to Ethiopia, to Abyssinia, and changed the name to Ethiopia. So they must say Owen was stirring up hatred and disrespect for the British monarch and the colonial government of Jamaica, and that he had incited and threatened peace and social order. And so them trying and sentencing in 1934 with the said brethren Robert Hines and our next Rasta pioneer. You understand? So them charge him for making seditious statement at a gathering in Seafood where 300 people gathered. So when Owen get put on trial now and plead not guilty and openly them claims and openly express hatred and contempt for the Jamaican government and the king, in addition to disturbing public peace. He was tried and them say he was sentenced to 2 years in jail for sedition by the Chief Justice. Now, to show you how important when we take over. It was no ordinary like a magistrate, but the Chief Justice of Jamaica, Robert Williams Lyall Grant, Solomon name, that sentenced him. I don't know if him took part in the trial or it was handed over to him for sentencing, but him end up a sentence Owen. Owen became a thorn in them side because he continued to preach and lock him up again, and in 1938 them sent him to Bellevue Mental Asylum in Kingston, and because them certify him insane for inflammatory statements he published in the book Promise Key, according to the writer then. And them claims him call the Roman Catholic Pope Satan the devil, and created the impression that war was being declared against colonialism and white supremacy, which all asserted would be replaced with black supremacy. Them say furthermore, Owen objected to locally created religious system like revivalism and Obia, a Jamaican folk practice. Although them say although the book is small, it's little and talawa because it pack a whole heap of punch and a whole heap of people read the book and understand what Owen did I say, and I agree with Owen because them could see the value in what Ola said, because Ola was talking to poor people who was being suffering, unlike those uptown slaves who were working with the government and was happy to be a slave and see themselves as subhuman and under and below that of the white man or the European. So like I said earlier, Owen was a very charming speaker, right? My tongue get tired of so all of it. I'm a very outspoken leader, you know, and suffer a whole heap of them claims that Owen was probably the most brutalized Rastaman in terms of how much time them lock him up. He was the most targeted Rastaman anyway. And him suffer. And them say, even though he was alive, them have him in a Bellevue and stop him from go and meeting His Imperial Majesty when His Imperial Majesty visited Jamaica in 1966. You know, so this is how Babylon stay, you know, right? Babylon very petty. You know, them very petty even after them see the tumultuous welcome that the people of Jamaica show up for Haile Selassie. When it come to Leonard Earl, they was still petty and was having in a Bellevue claims I'm mad just because he was preaching the words of that Haile Selassie was divine in nature. But we're not done with all yet, because Owen set up a place from in 1940 after him come out of prison and mothers. He created the first Rasta village in Jamaica, which he called Pinnacle, on a hilltop in a community called Sligerville in the parish of St. Catherine. You know, some writer claims that Pinnacle is a state within a state, you know, but, you know, so it was on the lines of how the Maroons was kind of self-governing. But every minute now, the authorities used to raid it. So, because it was one of the first self-sustaining Rasta communities in Jamaica. And them say its members never need no help from the outside. No resources they need from outside. So the people them never did really trouble nobody, you know, but the authorities, because people was moving up there in numbers every time always set up the community. It was in numbers. People come up there in numbers and them could see people moving up there, even though them not trouble nobody. And them claim, so Owen was practicing some form of socialism. Yeah. Or communism, as some of them put it. But say communism, only part of commune farm after that. Rasta commune farm after that. But that was the first Rasta community in Jamaica. They moved him out of St. Thomas. They moved from down Western Kingston, what the mother call it, Coronation Market, Grass Yard and all that kind of place there. And then they moved to St. Thomas. And then they lock him up there, so he decided to Pinnacle after all the mistreatment. You understand? And they flourish. Them say him cultivate ganja up there and all sort of food that would have sustained them up there. So obviously, the typical Jamaica food, and suppose, them would have planted up there and them thing. But shortly after him set up the settlement, government forces raided and arrested many of his followers and broke up the community. He escaped arrest at that time, but them eventually find him and kidnap him and take him through them court ritual. And once again, him charge him for sedition and him spend 2 more years behind colonial bars. Upon him release in a 43, him go back up there and continue him work. And them raid the place enough time and shut him down again. Claim say, him do a communist experiment. But when he come out of prison in a 43, them say all hired guards and brought in watchdog to protect pinnacle from future attack. So it's like them set up an alarm system. Before them just live like a normal. If you go to Jamaica, that's something now them call gated community. But within the middle of the bush. So now him decides, well then, when the soldier them not come and the police them not come, you need this warning system to make good them escape. You understand? But anyhow, find them find him, anyhow him touch road and them find him out of road, so them was about lock him up anyway. Because them say police raid the place several times in the 50s in 1954. The military come, invaded the community and mash it up, destroy it almost completely, lock up about 1,200 people up there who never escape, get locked up. And them, them mash down the place, burn it down and all them, bulldoze it and all them kind of thing. And lock him up again, and then send him back to madhouse. And go back again in a 58 and clear out the few people them who did left there. So after them raid it in a 54, people go back on the settlement, them have all in a captivity, but followers, them call them Olites, go back to the community and police go back up there in a 58 and destroy completely and tell the people them say them not to come back. But Pinnacle has been, a place there to the art of Rasta, you understand? There, because that was where a whole heap of the thing, which we will talk about later. But one writer, my Virgin Jabones, then the land of the ancestors, as they would say, him claim say, we'll see, him line out 6 things. Where him say 6 principles were the essence of our Rasta doctrine. The true acceptance of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie as the supreme being and ruler of African people at home and abroad. Preparation for repatriation of all Africans to Africa, the true and only homeland of the African people. The need for the African descendants of Jamaica and everywhere else in the diaspora for that matter to reject the system because they Rasta despise the system of slavery and colonialism, which is what the Jamaican society and westernized society represent the superiority of the black race, since as that is the natural fact that society will have to recognize sooner rather than later, that Europeans and all who follow their ways are wicked, because the black man has more than proof that the righteous shall wreak revenge on the white people, 6 the white people, 8 blacks, and that only hatred can repair hatred or fight hatred. They said that Leonard Howell died on the 25th of February 1981. But Pinnacle, has been significant in the Rastafari movement. In fact, the sacrament of smoking ganja as a sacramental offering is one of those. The adopting of the green, gold, and red, they used to call it red, gold, and green back in those days. The type of chanting and drumming that Rasta do was developed up at Pinnacle. The symbol of the lion and the seal of the Lion of Judah. The growing of dreadlocks and others. Yeah. In fact, I remember something later, earlier, and it slipped my mind. But they all were, established up at Pinnacle, and when the Howlites then was driven out of Pinnacle, they took these systems down into Western Kingston with them, because, like I said, them throw them off of the land, and they never have nowhere to go. They used to live in the shantytown slums of Western Kingston, and then move out there, and then Babylon kick them out, and them end up back down there, and them started to grow the dreadlocks, and the oppression continued. It never stopped. So after Howell Pinnacle now, and them sideline Howell, and it created a vacuum in leadership for the Rastafari movement. And in 1958, Prince Emmanuel, Prince Emmanuel called a convention with the help of Mortimer Planner, which we will talk about later, and some other brethren, to hold a convention in a Western Kingston about the Rastafari movement, which they call Groundation. But when the people then, before that, the people then went back to Kingston, they have to start hustle all over again, making brooms, sell wood and coal, what people over here so called charcoal. They would have sell fruits, fish, and ganja was a thing for themselves too. And they had to try and make an honest living and so on down there, and get kind of hustling. That's how you hear people I say, man, hustling them kind of thing. And the street lecture them started again down there. Not that it did stop, but it increased, because all the people that come down out of the hills of Pinnacle and start congregate down there, living rough and so on. And them had to make a living, so that them do. But while them do, the police them never ease up. The police them continue to intimidate. And so this made Rasta more and more militant. And so 1958, like we say, they call a convention. Yeah. You know, how tight, yeah, before I go to the convention, how tight, like I said, the term blood and fire, which you even hear from record and then thing, and fire burn Babylon and then something, come out of the frustration of the brutality that them encountered down a Bacawali and the slums of Western Kingston. So when police would have passed, them would have, in a frustration, they would have just shout out, blood and fire, burn, fire, burn Babylon and them kind of thing. And that did actually make matters worse because it even incensed the police who probably did just a drive past for them spin around and come back with the brutality, you know, and there was some terrible policemen down there in Western Kingston who just wanted any excuse to beat a man. Well, I should say a black man, you know. So during that time now, like I said, the groundation took place in a Kingston with Prince Emmanuel. You understand? So Prince Emmanuel now, like I say all the time, Prince Emmanuel was a man who became very popular and start fill the role. Him and Mortimer Planner start fill
Yes,
the role.
yes, Ras McKoy. Say
Yeah.
about the next 5 minutes because
All right.
we want some feedback, you see, from people who want to ask some questions and raise some points.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Make a deal with. Yeah. Make a wrap it up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Haile Selassie now. Okay. Make a wrap it up, and because what the Rasta movement is all about is black liberation, and it have an impact upon the people of Jamaica. Yeah, big impact upon all the people of Jamaica and the people of the world. You know, because Rasta say Haile Selassie as earth rightful ruler. Yeah, and how would I say now? The contribution that Rasta done to the Pan-Africanism, yeah, that's some more on that. Rasta teach the doctrine just like oil of self-sufficiency, African unity and cooperation. It participated by singing songs, liberation songs, and make it known to the world, participated in anti-apartheid movement. Bob Marley himself actually rent equipment and went down to the independence celebration down there in Zimbabwe. Rasta movement believe in the open borders of Africa and want to see Africa develop in a prosperous, healthy, and mighty continent, as well as those who are living in the diaspora. Rasta also developed ital eating, which is a whole heap of people are talking about vegetarian diet and all them things there. The dreadlock symbol was a symbol which draw whole heap of animosity back in the 60s what we talk about, because in the 50s it became a symbol, and when people saw it, when the police saw it, them decide say they would brutalize Rasta in the 60s. You know, the 60s. You understand? Now, Haile Selassie now contribution, like I say, he was a modernizer, a unifier. He realized that Ethiopia and Africa couldn't stay behind. It had to be modernized to keep up with European economies and technologies and military might and so on. So, but he was a patient man, step by step, because he never wanted them come invade it again like they did, like the Italians did, you know. So when Haile Selassie now, in planning crowning, in planning crowning, and that crowning, like I say, white man, Arab man, Japanese, like Oriental people, come bow before him, and when black people see that, it showed a great significance that here we have a man, a black man, white man was bowing down to when they were calling black people 3/5 of a human being. They were bowing before a black king whose coronation was done with great splendor. And even Queen Elizabeth of England had to bow to him. You understand? So, like I say, him helped to organize the conference at the AOU and helped to set up the AOU. He was the father figure in the whole of that. And he made great speeches at the UN United Nations General Assembly, where Bob Marley sing the hit song War, where he claimed that until the philosophy that old one was superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited. That was a little part of the speech that he gave to the United Nations. Yeah? When him touched Jamaica, it shows all those who the things a joke Rasta did that talk about. Them say this man was real. That those who call Rasta God, them say Rasta God did it. Those who see him as a great king and the ice man, them say and did it is a real thing. Haile Selassie was a well-dressed man, and he get the title of well-dressed man in Time magazine for 7 years running. And he was very diplomatic in nature. He was very humble, full of majesty, dignity, integrity, honor, benevolence, and generosity, and impeccable conduct, and so on and so on. You know, and I can only sum him up in 3 words: the perfect man. Yes, so give thanks. Yeah. Taraka.
Yeah, man. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, Ras McKoy.
So yeah, that's my presentation, because I did want to talk about some other people, but since the time I run off today, any questions we can deal with it, you know?
Yeah, man. So as you hear, Ras McKoy, any questions or any comments from those listening would be appreciated, and then we can deal with those. Yeah. So we have about, say, 15-20 minutes for that.
You have any question from that you want?
Yeah, man. Me jot down a few things in one. All right. One of the things we're very interested in is the relationship between Howell and Garvey, because I think I did come across somewhere where them said Howell at one point was a member of the UNIA. How much you know about that?
No, yeah, like little smoking of it, because them say them believe him to be a Garveyite. So he was over there in New York, and if we look now and we can say the way Leonard Howell doctrine was when he come and start preaching in the street of Kingston and St. Thomas, we can see say these are back to Africa argument, which Marcus Garvey was also teaching. These were also Garveyite arguments. So if he was in America New York, especially Harlem at that time, it is more likely that he would be dealing with Garvey than any other organization. You know, so most of the things, as you can see, Garvey was already doing them in a film organization.
All right. And the other thing is, as you know, this come up all the time. So I don't know what your view on this is. As you know, when Mussolini invaded Ethiopia and Selassie left and came here, and it was said that Garvey criticized him for leaving. And then,
you know, them say it's a fact that him they call Haile Selassie quite. But you know, Marcus Garvey is a very passionate man, and like me say, Haile Selassie take counsel from him elders, like the superior forces of the Ethiopian, them couldn't deal with that. So he had to when he took advice from his counselors and went to Europe and spoke at the League of Nations. So, guys, some people think that people only fight physically, but like Mr. Haile Selassie is a spiritual man as well. He deal with the spiritual and the practical. So, in practical, in the physical, and in high and mighty in the spiritual. So, and then what I said, I'm more than or the same one way of string a cat or something or another. I can't remember. But him end up a fight in a different way. Him end up with England. And you know, a lot of people who like being and them was a bit upset with him. But the work of Marcus Garvey do, the people eventually ignore that, because even we have enough Rasta, we are well aware of them things, but that no matter to them, because all Rasta say, like I said, have Marcus Garvey as the #2 man in a Rasta. You understand? That him, after His Majesty, right? And in fact, the Bobo Shanti have him as part of them Trinity. You understand? So we now go look at any little argument that Marcus Garvey did say about Haile Selassie. We know Haile Selassie work on different fronts. And like Mr. Haile Selassie came to Europe, I come get the British to go back with him and fight off and beat off Italian. And while him sit down on film throne, Europe was burning, pure bomb. Even England and Churchill, who did describe Ethiopian as barbarian, and he wouldn't come to the aid of barbarian. Eventually, have to come to the aid of these so-called barbarians when we talk about when the Majesty came to England and muster forces, all great same British forces were in tech from North Africa, because them did want him. Haile Selassie did have a general with him, and him tell the general to head towards Ethiopia rather than go to Cairo. And he went to Ethiopia via Sudan, while some other British forces moved from Somalia and then place there to come in and recapture. So, and Bob Marley sing the song, "He who fights and runs away live to fight another day." So you have to know, a man have to know, you see, dying ain't part of the game. The game of life is to live it, because we come here to live. So dying ain't part of the game. So if we fight and run away, we still can't fight another day. And that's what took place. Haile Selassie run away and come back victorious and triumphantly, like the state in 1941. I think it was in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a point here that Howell and the other 3 Rasta pioneers was originally members of the UNIA and ACLC.
Yeah,
ACL.
we never see on my research, we never see no 100%, said them was members, but they were believed to be. So that's what's the point. I
All
make.
right.
Yeah, we don't know if them was registered, paid up members. You understand? But certainly held that belief. Yeah.
All right. There's another point here. And it says, what reflections can be made on Ethiopia progress from the days of the Italian insurgents and how Ethiopia has advanced up to 2021? I don't know if you can see the...
Well, if we take, like we said, Haile Selassie take over the government of Ethiopia in 1916. Now, Ethiopia was almost unchanged for more than 3,000 years from the time of Solomon and Sheba. Apart from a little hospital and a couple schools where the missionary them set up in Ethiopia. It left unchanged. Yeah, because I like the build a hospital. It left unchanged. So Ethiopia, Haile Selassie was a modernizer of Ethiopia. But like I said, he wanted to do gradually. Because in his own autobiography, he said Ethiopia was like a baby in the modern world. So he had to spoon feed it. He couldn't get hard food because his teeth never grow yet. So you have to spoon feed Ethiopia. So it take time and take time and take time. But in 1974, a famine took place in the Abadan. And the white people, especially one white reporter named Jonathan Dimbibi, made a feast out of it. Claim said Haile Selassie people was starving while he was feeding them lion. And them kind of thing there. And them can put propaganda on them thing there. But at the same time, while them did that, Ethiopian them did that starve. Them did that feed for them dog too. You understand? But this is all when them want to get rid of somebody, what them call regime change. And in fact, several attempts were made to remove Haile Selassie even before all in the 60s, differently from the invasion of the Italians. Then, and then even try to put him own son upon the throne. So, them, because Haile Selassie is a progressive man, they never want to see Haile Selassie in power. Worse, him go farm the organization, help farm the organization of African unity and them things there. And as you could see, enough of those people who were talking about African unity and liberation, them kill off most of them. And that's why them tried and them deposed Haile Selassie. Well, the people who deposed Haile Selassie was people who Haile Selassie trained. But this guy, Mengistu, was a guy who was a up and coming star in Haile Selassie eyes, and him probably would have eventually come to the eyes and probably would end up the prime minister, but him couldn't wait. So when the opportunity came in a 74, him decided, say, well, then him go pull off a coup, the rest of colonels and generals, and them form a thing called the dirt. But them never ready for that. So it ended up cause war in Ethiopia for about 20-25 years. Ethiopia fell backward. So all the progress that Haile Selassie made in building school, building a modern military, building hospitals, building the road system, trying to upgrade, because Haile Selassie in that famine couldn't get food. We never have enough transport to get food put down into the Agaden. We never have that. You understand? And the European made great play of that. But a second famine happened again, which killed more people, and them never chat about it in a Mengistu time. Where bad girl laugh and them boy there. I look for money and make fame out of it and them thing there. But them never say nothing about that. You understand? But As him saying, I'm autobiography. All heap of people want to say things, but them say it either out of envy, hate, prejudice, or by being misinformed. You understand? Yeah.
All right.
Now, one of the things I'd want to say why Rasta, before I go to the next question, is that when Rasta look and see Haile Selassie had land, because the important thing in a Pan-Africanism and Black liberation is that you have a land. And at the time in 1930, only Liberia and Ethiopia was there in terms of being ruled by Black people. The next one was Egypt, but that was under Turkish so-called Arab rule. Yeah, because them people that come from Turkey, them refer to them as Arab, but them really come from the Ottoman Empire mixed up with Arabs and Turks and Romans, Roman and Greek. So, you know, all heap of people don't understand the power of His Majesty. You understand? Because that was a big mistake the people in South Africa made. When Zimbabwe was fighting, they were fighting for land. But South Africa was fighting for votes and the end of apartheid. And this is why South Africa still is an apartheid country without, you know, the official label of apartheid. Because land was very significant. Yeah.
All right. I don't know if you can see the point, that other point that was brought up. I suppose this is referring to Howell and the other three. They left the UNIA and ALC after the coronation of Rastafari.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I would have loved them to show me convincing, evidence so them was actual members. I believe they were, and I'm not really a believer. That's why I like to know things. And I not 100% sure, so I can't say that. If a man have evidence, then that's fine. So if this brother who are right, them think that have full evidence of that, then that's good.
Okay, there's another point that I want to bring up. As you know, you mentioned land, which was important. And it was said that Shashamani, some people said it was given solely to Rasta, and other people said it was given to the diaspora in general. So will you just straighten that up?
It was given to Black people in the diaspora.
Right.
500 acre land or 200 hectare them did that work, which is equivalent to 500 acres. That was given to Black people who helped Haile Selassie fight off the Italians, who helped the Ethiopians to fight off the Italians. America was the place where the most affluent set of Black people lived there at the time. You understand? And still is to some extent today. So they had money that them could have passed on to. So them would have gathered and sell them pots and pan and all them kind of thing there. And put together and make money and send to the Ethiopian cause, in Ethiopia. So when Haile Selassie was in Bath now, them appreciate that. A delegation was also sent from America to visit His Imperial Majesty while he was at Bath, and while he was at Bath, them visit him and him listen to them, and him send him emissary for the farm, the EWF, who that administer this land grant. This land grant took place in 1955. But him did expect people with able people to go over there, people who could contribute to the development of Ethiopia. But the passion of Rasta and other people to leave the West made it into a disorganized thing, and You know, people start go by themselves or in a groups of two and so on. And it create animosity because the way Haile Selassie did want it to go is not the way it actually, you know. And you know, and especially in that era, the Omara region, where a whole heap of Muslim and them kind of people there. It, you know, and Rasta say Haile Selassie, and you know, the same Mengusti and the dirt spread hatred of Haile Selassie during the 25 years that he was in power. And the Muslim them never liked him either. So that is another matter. You know, the Muslim them in the country are doing rule over them. They want it to be ruled by Mecca instead of Addis Ababa. You know, and like Mr. Rasta look to, that is the next thing with Rasta now. Rasta look to Africa. Them look to a black king, them don't look to Jesus, them don't look to Muhammad, and them don't look to Mecca. Rasta don't look to Mecca like some black people, or to Jerusalem like some other black people. Them look to Africa. You understand? So that's the next important thing with Rasta.
All right. There's a next point I wanted to bring up because, as you mentioned, Rasta and the contribution to struggle of Pan-Africanism. There was a point that during the last invasion by Mussolini, as you know, Africans throughout the diaspora gathered up to support Ethiopia, and quite a few of them actually made themselves, you know, made their way to Ethiopia to physically fight. Now, the point I want to bring up is the point of the airline, Ethiopian Airlines, which is, I think, is easily the largest and most successful airline on the African continent. It was some airman from Tuskegee, America, pilots who had fought in the Second World War that went over and actually, you know, flew planes and, you know, bombed the Italians and so forth. And after that, after they got rid of the Italians, I think they were the foundation of setting up the airline in Ethiopia.
Yeah, well, I never know that part, the 100 still, yeah. But like I said, the Americans as black people were best placed than all of the other black people then, in the world. You know, right, to help Ethiopia. Because like I said, them fought in a World War I. Many of them was with the American military. Many of them were church leaders, business entrepreneur, of well-to-do people compared to black people in other part. You know, only for poor black people did there, you know, but you had a whole heap of well-to-do black people and well-skilled black people too. Not least Marcus Garvey did help to develop some of those people as well.
All right. Yeah, there's a next point asking, can you mention the name of the person who came to, was it Crawl River, Clarendon? Please mention his family name.
Leonard Owen. Leonard Owen.
Leonard Owen. All right. All right. Let's see if there's any other.
No, next man would I like to mention is Mortimer Planner, because Mortimer Planner play a very important role in Bob Marley in Rastafari Movement. Rasta used to take a whole heap of beating until Bob Marley come and start singing to the world, you know, and it's kind of soften the pressure off of Rasta, because Rasta became beloved by a whole heap of white people, and that start take off some of the pressure of Rasta in the 80s. And you see, because Rasta, them did link Rasta to the Michael Manley government of the 1970s. Them did a link Rasta with communism and all them kind of thing. Once the next government take over, the Siaga government, that wasn't an issue anymore. So the brutality against Rasta did kind of ease down, plus with Bob Marley becoming this mega star, you know, and the most, the greatest superstar ever in terms of music. You know, that kind of softened it for Rasta. Motor Planamos, apart from visiting and meeting His Majesty in Ethiopia and part the way for Haile Selassie, to get him off the plane, he also tutored Bob Marley in music and wrote lyrics for him and helped to manage him for a time. And is one of the very serious Rastafarian elders. So, yeah. But I myself, like Planner, I don't belong to a particular house because never get to that part. Rasta, just like how Christian divide up, some of them decide to divide up themselves into various, what them call houses or mansions. And so, I myself don't adhere to any of them because I just see myself as a free spirit give unto anybody who want it. You understand? Any more questions, Karaka, or you want me to talk a little bit more upon?
Yeah, well, just one little point. Well, the thing about there, because I've come across several, on several occasions, people saying, one, when did Rasta actually start the locks? Because I heard Howell didn't actually wear locks.
No, well, that is one of the most, that is why you'd call locks is an anomaly in a Rasta. You can hear me?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay, I did see about, okay. So, locks is an anomaly in a Rasta in the sense that Haile Selassie never have no locks, and most of the man them, what we call founding father, never have no locks. Marcus Garvey never have no locks. But like I said, man did wear locks all the while. Because what is locks? Locks is just a man now comb him ear or now trim him head. You understand? And this grow naturally. But during the 50s, the Mau, I forget them proper name. My brain not as good as it used to be one time. But
yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. The Mau, yeah.
The Mau them in Africa used to fight, and them used to fight with dreadlocks. And so while Owl was up at Pinnacle and them thing there, news was coming through the Gleaner and them places about the war in Kenya and so on, and that these Mau. So the dreadlock became popular and up a Pinnacle. And it became popular around Jamaica. And then the locks now, when it became popular now, they became a target because it represents all the various fractions of Rasta now, whether they are bald Rasta or yeah, Laxman or whatever. The Laxman was the only one them could truly identify as Rasta. In order for no one lock up a Rasta man with comb head, them would have to see him at a meeting or hear him talk or anything. You understand? But when them say a Laxman, them automatically know what him did represent at the time. You get me, Taraka?
Yeah, man, I know what I say. And by the way, also there was a group in the Senegal called the Bifals, who also wear locks from way back.
From time immemorial, people are wearing locks. You know, it's just a natural way for a man here to grow.
Yeah, true.
And Rasta deal with naturality. Rasta ital. Ital mean vital, and vital mean natural. You understand? So Rasta take the natural part. You know, so him not disturb the growing I'm here. You might
all right.
public land and type of thing. Yeah, and so I'm not disturb.
All right. Yeah, the people when I look for in Kenya fighting was the Freedom and Land Party. So the Momos organization they call.
Yeah, no, but them have another name too, what them call the dreadlock. That was the party, but them have another name what them call the dreadlock one them. I can't remember it, but I saw it. Yeah, you can research it still there. Yeah.
All right. I think there's a yeah, man didn't go put it up. The proper name for the so-called Momo. Yeah, the same. The London Freedom Party, apparently.
Yeah. So
yeah.
In that way, you know, so the locks come get popularized amongst Rasta. You'd have man aware that from longer time still, the hills man them aware that from longer time. And man did aware them beard because when man get to know himself and realize say your beard, that's them used to call Rasta beard man too. You understand? Your beard is a significance of your manhood. You naturally grow up on you. And this is why Babylon wants you to cut your beard and you want to move your locks, because when you cut your beard, you end up back being a boy. You know, for them eyes. You understand? That's why when you go into the army and the police force, the first thing them tell you, see barber shop. Cut your ear because them get you for ball. You understand? So when you stand up now and say, no, I'm a sovereign being, I decide how I run my thing. I'm not going to allow my ear to grow like how it meant to. You understand? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So,
yeah, the people, them man, them not.
Well, the question kind of dry. But one of the things that I want to bring up, as you say, how did you feel, or how do you feel as a Rasta man when you see enough people now start wear locks and them now following that part, them just give Rasta a bad name in a way because them go out and commit all kind of sitting and then people blame Rasta.
You know, from way back in the 70s, you used to hear people, pardon me, a little bit of force, you used to hear Dennis Brown and them sing a song about wolf in a sheep clothing. Yeah, it was about talk about this, you know, but the time run out. You have Rasta and you have wolf in a sheep clothing, and you have wannabes. You understand? You have people who put on locks because them wanted to sell ganja. Them think it will catch woman because Bob Marley became a famous and woman start love Rasta for that. Them start fly from Germany and Europe to look for Rasta. Them man put on it to play music. Yeah. All sort of thing man wear locks. You understand? All different groups now, groups that we actually detest as well. Them are put on locks too, and some of them are scrape around the side of the head and all them type of things. You understand? So it to the people them now who do not understand Rasta, because some people who say false Rasta, but you know, no false Rasta. You just have people who go on like them a Rasta, you understand, in order to trick people or to get gains out of it. So it put a bad impression on Rasta because most of the people out there you see with locks, it's only about 10%, if that, are Rasta. And we've been very conservative with the numbers. It could be far less than that. About 10% of them are Rasta, understand what Rasta is about, and serve the majesty with reverence and dignity. You understand?
All right. Yes, Ras.
Yeah,
Yes, Ras McKoy. Unfortunately, time beat us.
if I could just remind.
Yeah, but you would. Yeah, you just say you want to remind people.
Yeah, the
you know,
people
you can.
that you know have a YouTube channel. Ras
Yeah,
McKoy,
man.
as you see
Have you
on the
got
top.
something you can put up?
Eh?
You have something you can put up? You can show them.
You want me share the?
Yeah, man. Share it and then we can just put that up quickly
Hold
so
on,
we can see.
let us see if I can get it to share. Hold on. Let's see if I can get it to share. Share screen. Okay, yes, it should have worked. It should have worked. It should have
look
worked.
out for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it'll come up. All right, let me put him up.
It come up. Hold on.
Yeah. You see what come up?
It come up?
Yeah, it's up.
But I don't know why it won't come up on my thing. It now come up on my screen for some reason. Oh, see that hide. Hide. Because although I take it from the computer, I can't see it.
No, but you have to go up on the one you want. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So, if you can look, it says please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ras McKoy. Also, on Facebook. And, you know, if really urgently or you're serious in a business, you can contact me at rasmckay@mail.com. Yeah, you can also contact me through the Facebook. You can leave a message in the Facebook. Yes, but I want to thank the people for listening. Yeah, and you know, also them can tune into my program. To my program on Galaxy Radio, the Good Vibe Show, and every Tuesday between 6 and 8 on Galaxy Afro.com Radio. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you can take that off of the screen.
Yeah, I made it take it down now. Yes, so, all right, Ras McKoy again. I'd like to hear you up for coming on and
give thanks and thanks for inviting me onto your program, and also to the listeners for tuning in, and to anyone who may also look at it in the future. So give thanks to you, Taraka, and the PACMTV, and also to Ndugo Imani, Rastafari Guidance.
Yeah, man. So again, hear you up for coming on and giving this vital information, because as you say, Rasta is part of the history, and it's part of the more progressive part of our history, because you know, sometimes people think of Rasta and them think of Pan-Africanism and them think them is separate. But from what you're showing, they're an integral part of the Pan-African movement. And when you look at Rasta throughout the years, you can say probably it's hard to think of a group that has been so consistently influential, because their
Well,
scope now is truly worldwide. Everywhere you go, them did it, and them very influential, and people listen and follow them.
this is the point I'm making, you see, because you see,
Mm-hmm.
one of the problem that it occur was the same lax business, you know. Yeah, the Babylon them use the locks our natural way because Babylon don't want to see people natural. So them use the locks as a way of fighting against black people. Like them even make black people hate the
Mm-hmm.
locks more than all white people hate it because we get appreciated uh, from the white people them in the 70s more than we did
Mm-hmm.
from our own black people because we get ostracized by our own black people. You understand? We get ostracized by, how would I put it now? By people who black and poor, and you would think that them are the one who should have looked towards Rasta or at least to Garvey, to 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 Garveyism or whatever, who someone who is looking after them interests. Because Rasta, I look after all black people's interests. Like me say, whole heap of people come in there who are wolf in a sheep clothing and wannabes, right? And everybody are Rasta. Some of them think them are Rasta, yeah? But them are was. They try to be Rasta, but Rasta is something what, and something where you can learn. You understand? You can't learn it. You
Mm-hmm.
either is a Rasta or you is not. So that inner
Mm-hmm.
you is within your inner Rasta term it as irits. You have to go within your inner self to find
Mm-hmm.
out who you is, and when you find out who you is, if you see yourself as a black man and know so you come here in a dispensation and you want to contribute to the development of your people. Rasta is perhaps the best way, you know, to do it because it anytime you have your locks on head, it remind you who you is naturally. And then use that against we and against black people. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's like I said. If a lot of us are honest, it was through the music that a lot of the Rastas was putting out at the time that led me down the path of Pan Africanism. Long before I met any, what you would say, Pan Africanist organization and stuff, music was being put out over the year that planted that seed of Pan Africanism in my
Well,
mind.
the first Rasta man who sing a tune, you know, I don't even think he was laxed at the time, but is a brother called Clancy Eccles who sing the tune say, before I be a slave, I'll go down into my grave and go home to my father and be free. That was film outlook. So you must say, none of the slave thing, none at all. I'm coming like the man them who would have jump off of the shit back in
Mm-hmm.
the years of shackle, slavery and
All right.
transportation. You understand? So a long time Rasta and consistent with it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, that's the main thing. Being consistent is not just here today,
You
gone
understand?
tomorrow,
And
like
like we
some
say,
other people.
we point to Africa as our home. We're not going to say Mecca, 'cause we say Addis Ababa higher than Mecca, we say Accra higher than Mecca, we say Lagos higher than Mecca.
Mm.
You understand? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a king, we don't have no white Jesus, we don't have no Arab guy. And we don't have no Indian or no China. It's a black man we have as king and God.
Yeah. All right. Time is beating us, but Ras McKoy, I
Yes,
know
brother.
that you're a whole lot to say.
Thanks again.
It's
And
an interesting thing, and you're somebody definitely me wants to see you back on this
Yeah,
channel because
we have different angles where I never go, you know, like I say.
yeah, man. So we,
Maybe
you
you
know, you'll
have
have a
them
next chance to come back on because I know I
remind me,
said,
because you have some icon in a Rasta who really need, if people really need to know about them and them greatness stuff.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So as I said, it's
Would I like to say one from Marcus Garvey Sr. I say the one from Marcus Garvey Jr. Would I like to see you get Mandingo for the one from Marcus Garvey Sr.
yeah, man. You know, don't worry. We talk all the time, so that can be arranged. All
Yes,
right. So
bless up, man.
time, yeah, man.
Give
Bless up. So
thanks.
time really
And
beat us
thanks
now.
again to
So.
the audience for listening.
Mm-hmm. All right. So again, now Nduguman is here, and we know what that means. It's here to change the whole vibration, the energy for us. So, like we always like to end like how we started. So I'll now pass you over to Ndugu Imani.
Asante sana Ndugu, asante sana. Asante sana, Elder Ras McKoy. Very enlightening, very informative. You see by the comments how people are hearing about so much about learning for the first time about Rastafari. We know the words, we know the terms, we know some individuals, but we need people like yourself to come and enlighten us so we truly understand that there's more to say. And as Ndugu Tahaka said, you know, it'd be wonderful to have you to expound more on the deep history of Rastafari and other aspects of Rastafari and the movement and the religion. So yes, Asante Sana. So let us now, as again, we're going to end on the vibration, to not so much change the vibration, but continue the vibration. And so that we can end in peace, love, and respect and honor with ourselves, and use that vibration that we all come from, that one vibration, the one all, that we all are expressions of. So Ndugu Tahaka, if you please, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Okay, Asante Sana. All right, yes, I can see that. Yes, so again, using the triangle, the geometric shape, powerful geometric shape to create the vibration. And yes, we'll create the vibration of, we use it 8 times in order to resonate and to be in contact with the one vibration, that vibration to go around us, through us, and over us. And as we do, and connecting with the higher consciousness, the all, we can give of ourselves to that vibration, resonate with it, and also apart from each other. But also, most importantly, giving thanks to the all, to the netters, the forces of nature we called upon at the beginning, and the ancestors. They're always with us, they're within us, but now they're in our conscious awareness. And so now we can ask for them to take our intentions. Whatever we wish to put into place, we must have intention, we must have the will to, and then we ask them to assist us with those intentions, take those intentions and work upon them, so that we can bring about the change we wish to see in ourselves individually, to give us the strength and the courage to do what we must do, and also for our race and our people and wherever we may be, to bring us to total liberation of African peoples worldwide. So I'll now ring it 8 times, because that is the symbol, that the quantity for eternity. Yes, and power. So I'm now going to ring 8 times. So again, sit straight so that your 7 energy centers are straight. With your spine, is the Hindu Kush called the chakra. Feet flat on the floor, hands on your thighs, and I'll begin. And I'll count in Kiswahili to keep time. Moja. Mbili. Tatu. Ine. Tano. Sita. Saba. Nane. And so now we say with each other, just follow after me the words of manifestation and power on the screen, as we said earlier. So let's repeat after me with intent and power. Use the vibration of our very voices to bring into reality that's what we wish. And to be using our internal and our spiritual power. So we begin. Nguvu zote.
Nguvu zote.
Kwa watu wetu.
Kwa watu wetu.
Mapenzi ya wote.
Mapenzi ya wote.
Ni mapenzi yetu.
Ni mapenzi yetu.
Hakuna mwanzo.
Hakuna mwanzo.
Na hakuna mwisho.
Na hakuna mwisho.
And finally in Kemetic, Anuk, Amen.
Anuk, Amen.
All power to our people. The will of the all is our will. There is no beginning and there is no end. I am. Amen. Asante sana, Jamal. Thanks very much, family.
Okay, Asante sana and Dugramani, and I'd like to say a big Asante sana for all those who tuned in today. And as usual, we'll be back again next week, same time, same place, that's 6 p.m. on PACMTV with another interesting, dynamic presentation. So until then, I bid you kwaheri.